Hey, Sean, do you know what? I think that our listener want real protection against cyber risk. And I know that High Trust is the leader in cybersecurity assurance. But what makes them the go to choice?
Well, according to our friends at HITRUST, because their framework covers 100% of the known tactics, techniques, and procedures, in 2024, organizations with a HITRUST certification had just a 0.59% incident rate, meaning 99.41 stayed breach free.
That's solid. But what about staying sharp over time?
HITRUST regular certification process isn't just a checkbox, it actually drives improvement. Repeat customers see up to 54% fewer corrective actions needed year over year. And now, with their new AI security assessment and certification, you can actually tackle AI risk with confidence as well.
Then check out the iTrust framework. Go to hightrustalliance.net to learn more.
Marco,
Sean,
we're on with two of our closest fake identities of 2000.
oh yeah, like
Yeah.
doppelganger here.
Two plus thousand. We have you and I and two more. I think our guests are real today, but they've done some research on some fake identities that I'm gonna guess looked real enough for something to take place in the cyber and privacy world, and we're gonna learn all about that as part of our chats on the road to Black Hat this year.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that virtually with these chats on the road, we are already in Vegas. In the real
There
world,
you go.
we haven't even left yet.
I know.
We still have
I'm
a
in Long
weekend.
Vegas.
So the drive is gonna happen next week. But the event did start already for us. We already had a lot of really good conversation with sponsors and also with Steve Wiley, the manager director of Black Hat, which is a tradition. So I hope people get to catch that one before showing up at Black Hat. And this one, Sean, I picked this conversation because
You did pick
it's
this.
more on my side of things, society and technology, and of course
Political
security,
science.
yeah, security, privacy, and all of that. And it's pretty scary from what I was reading about it, but I don't know. We'll just ask directly to the researchers who took care of this. So, Alan and Jared, thank you for joining us. Let's just start with a little introduction about who you are. Start with you, Alan, and then can pass the ball to Jared, and then we dive into what you're presenting.
Yeah, sounds great. Thank you for having us today. Al Michaels, I'm a professor at Virginia Tech, mixed bag of research, but typically a lot of things in the RF spectrum with radios, little bit in the cyber realm, which is really the project we're talking about today.
Yeah, I'm Jared. I'm a research associate here at VT, and I am a data scientist, also focus in RF, but a little bit of cybersecurity.
Very good. So, the title is Use and Abuse of Personal Information, the Politics Edition. All right. where do you want to start? Let's start with why and
Yeah.
what triggered this interest in this many years. I think you guys have been doing this, right?
Yeah, we've actually been at this for 5 years. Started as a debate between me and one of my colleagues, which, naturally in the office environment, you get some fun political conversations. And, we're debating media bias and politicians, fake news. How do we actually figure out where spam or scam, any of those types of things are coming from? Because we know that they originate online. It has to be some online transaction that we took, and so we sat down and said, why don't we actually try to find the origination source of all of those emails, scams, etc. And that's really what led to use and abuse. 2020, we started, actually in 2021, briefed at Black Hat before on a brute force experiment. Had a lot more lessons learned, I think, than conclusions. Learned how to do this, and we've been scaling the system up so that you can throw 100,000 fake identities out into the ecosystem and get them to, in more or less real time, collect email, voicemail. We have our own phone server, things like that. So it's been a lot of fun.
And I'll just you make this point in the description. Politics, especially now, can lean one way or the other. Your research doesn't matter which affiliation you're part of, how you think, how you vote. This is mainstream stuff. Can you touch on that a little bit? What the
Yeah.
research entails and who it impacts?
Yeah, we have done our best to stay apolitical. We're simply looking at the data. In the 2024 election, we signed up a fake identity to each of the political campaigns, every last one that we could. So we have 1,400 different, say, collection points to find out what politicians are saying about their interest in the campaign. Fundamentally, it wasn't issues. And it didn't matter what side of the aisle you're on. It's, their goal was pretty much, hey, donate, give us money, vote for us. That's by far, what we were able to show out of the data.
Well, that's the product, right? That's the product they're selling. So it's pretty straight up. Now, how we're going to sell that product, that's a different story, and that's when it goes. But I guess, Jared, what was the main objective? Like, what were you trying to prove? What was the hinge, let's say, that you had, and say, all right, let's create this fake identity because we think this could be what's going on.
Yeah, well, there was quite a lot of different aspects that we wanted to look at. We wanted to see, did they actually, did a candidate give away our information? That's primary number one of the entire use and abuse project. But then we also wanted to see, okay, what if a account has the same address as where the candidate is running, and what if they're out of state? Do they treat these candidates or these accounts differently? And then also we even did ones where we donated to the candidate, and we also signed up some that didn't donate. We wanted to see, did they treat those differently as well?
And
I presume you're going to share some of that information. We're not going to give it away here.
right.
But that's the objective of the session, right? Is to kind of highlight some of these findings.
Certainly. And, short answer, the reason we're highlighting some of those, yes, political candidates do give away your information to their nearest friends. And in at least one case, we found that their email system probably got hacked. And in a couple others, we're getting into like tracking behaviors, both for us, for them, whether it's tracking pixels or the way the interactions actually occur. And even within the sharing behaviors, it's interesting, like cross-party sharing. So I guess the enemy of my enemy is my friend type of thing, actually being able to identify that.
Now, being able to identify with like cross-referencing data and so far, where there was actually a literal some other third party that got their hands on the data and made money out of it by say, yep, I got this list. Yeah, that too.
Well, we can't say the causality. Like, I don't know, did they sell it? Did they give it? On the political side, we assume that it's, they kind of have a common interest of each getting elected. And I don't know if money or something else changes hands.
Mm-hmm.
But we can show the attribution that when we sign up the fake identity, we've only used it once in its existence. And therefore, if we're getting emails from a third party, we know that original candidate had to share.
Right. And that's where I was actually going to go. And I don't know if, Jared, you want to take this, but the relevance of deciding to start from scratch and fresh with this digital identity, maybe did you know if they were actually going to work? Because you're talking about 5 years ago. And now maybe if you're still doing it, we can throw some generative AI in there. Are you working with that too? The evolution of it.
Yeah, Alan, if you want to answer this one.
Okay.
Well, we've been doing a lot of background research, and it is fun that you bring up generative AI. It is a little frightening how good any of the tools are right now, because I just had a master's student graduate where part of his thesis is creating emulations of human personality from psychometric factors. So, go to a psychology textbook, find out how they try to characterize humans, and then go tell ChatGPT, give me a email response, and all this is automated, but give me the response to this if you were a cranky old curmudgeon or something.
And so, talk to me a bit about the open source intelligence, or the OSINT. Are the tools, so obviously there's the textbook you're referring to. Presumably, when they register, they're as a donor or whatever, there's some inherent understanding of who they might be, perhaps. But then you're saying the candidates and automation and tools and, I don't know, maybe even services are going out and looking more at the individual to then target them more directly?
So a lot of times when you hear OSINT, people are implying passive OSINT, where you're more just going out and collecting information that's on a website or something. We're actually starting to lean into active OSINT, which is you're putting some piece of information out into the ecosystem, and based on that, you're getting typically a little bit different set of responses. For the political experiment, it was as simple as we gave people our email and really any other supposed PII that they requested. So they have names, they've got addresses, maybe things like that. And we're just collecting how do they use it. So it's really a personal privacy experiment as much as it is OSINT. We then certainly fuse it with kind of traditional passive OSINT.
So the way I see it is, yes, there is the tech, there is the cybersecurity, there is the privacy, the identity violation, there is the exchange of data, the aggregation, of course. Users, they don't know about that. I mean, we have seen happening these things in several past elections, not just in the United States, but all over the world. I mean, we can talk about Brexit and how with all the information available, you can really change the sentiment of individuals. So we go into way much more deeper ocean than propaganda. We're going into real type psychological manipulation. And let's face it, that's how now sometimes you do win election. And to be honest, that's how they've always been winning election, except that was a 1-to-1 or maybe one too many people listening in a square. And now we have one eventually AI versus anybody I can reach through social media and email. So do you guys look into kind of the actual sociological, political consequences of this? Still being above the parts, of course, as researchers need to be.
So it's kind of dangerous to put information out there, mis or disinformation, and try to see how people respond. So we have avoided that. Actually, the past year or so, I mean, we've been working on trying to define an ethics framework, primarily for the generative AI, but, any information we put out there, we want to avoid changing somebody else's decision process because, okay, number one, that's just not cool, but number two, what's
not if you do it, but apparently if others do it, that's cool, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Now, could we do it? Yes, we probably could pretty easily.
Well, I mean, that's an interesting point. Yeah, and I guess if we look at something like a penetration test, you can go so far until you can see that you can access the data, but you really shouldn't access the data, right? There's some rules and laws around that. Do you know, are there laws around how AI can be used to put information out, or is that still a wild, wild west?
So we're asking ourselves that same question, which maybe is why we're treading lightly. What we have found is the laws simply haven't caught up with the capabilities.
Which is on you. In this field.
Now, I'm sure if I go pick a fight with all these politicians, maybe a law will actually come into practice.
Yeah, but usually an afterthought and not something that we can imagine before. I mean, things are moving way too fast. All right, let's talk about, I do have another question, which is, when you decided to present it to the review board, Black Hat, were you you expecting to get in? Because it is cybersecurity, but it's it's the social engineering side, which obviously lately it's much. I mean, there is an entire area and category of those kind of conversations. So were you kind of surprised when they say, "Yeah, come on, let's discuss this"?
I mean, I think we're confident in our results. The fact that it's definitely a hybrid of all disciplines, we've always had a somewhat a hard time finding the home for it, but at the same time, I've had how many 130 students from 21 majors that have been involved in some way. So I actually really like the multidisciplinary side of this.
Yeah, me too, for sure. And what do you guys expect to get as from the people in the room? And maybe let's start with, who do you think is going to come? And do you think it's going to be the more technical people, the more like people like me that are interested more in the consequences for society, social engineers, AI people? Who do you expect? And maybe Jerry, you as well. What kind of question you think you're going to get asked after the presentation?
Well, I for one think that like data scientists just like myself that are just curious just in like the general statistics, general just like, what can we find with these, and it's takeaways that I think the people are going to go is just actually noticing how special they treat different aspects of a person that's signing up. For example, they treat donors a lot differently than they treat non-donors.
And Alan, your thoughts on this? Because I'm clearly, I mean, we were just talking about it. Policymakers, politicians, be a natural person who would want to hear this. Black Hat is a very technical or research-driven audience, and leaning more into the business. So how do you connect what you're doing with this research and the findings to perhaps want to just make it interesting, but make it valuable for somebody running a business and running a security program?
I do think that it's more of a general interest topic. I mean, we're not talking about deep exploits. So, I mean, certainly it's not that type of computer science. There's a lot under the hood for how we automate the processes of ActiveOSINT. Our focus really is more on the data, though. So it's more of anybody who has an interest in politics more than maybe they have a specific academic or industrial background.
Right. That's why I think I'm going to be there.
That's right.
And that's probably why you're not going to be there, Sean.
I'm
Well, you got to pick and choose. So I would not go to some that you would go.
Because when the campaigns start coming around the best pizza in New York, I want that to be legitimate.
Yeah, well, that's advertising. It's on another slice of problem right there. Another can you probably don't want to open right now. But anyway, thank you for coming by. Now we're looking forward, obviously, to see you guys in Black Hat in Las Vegas. Let me see if I get this right. The talk is on Wednesday, August the 6th at 3:20 p.m., 4 p.m. at South Sea C&D Level 3. That's what I got. It is about 40 minutes and a briefing, and the track is privacy and policy, obviously. So I invite everybody that is interested in what we just discussed to deep dive into this and get to know you, to meet you, ask you some questions, and I'm sure a lot of people will find this interesting and pretty disturbing at the same time, like we all do.
Yeah, let's fill the room 2,000 plus real identities, and everybody can bring their own fake identity along with them.
Bring your digital self, and everything is going to be just fine.
That's right.
All right, Sean, what about you? You going to drive with me, or you're going to send your digital twin?
At this point, I'm still riding with you, but yeah, it's still questionable.
Mixtape?
I can always back out. Mixtape is going to come. I shared one list with you. We'll see
You
if.
did? Okay. I'm bringing some Black Sabbath and Cure. I guess we can
Black
go
Sabbath and the Cure. There we go.
Yeah,
That's a good mix.
It's a good mix. All right. Thank you, Alan. Thank you, Jared, and everybody else. Stay tuned. And Sean, where can people find all the
Yeah, so
goodies
this
from Black Hat.
conversation and links to the session will be in the show notes and also on itspmagazine.com/BHUSA25. And yeah, looking forward to seeing everybody in Vegas. Stay tuned. If you can't make it, we're going to cover the event on location live as well. Jared Allen, thanks a million. Good luck with your session, and congrats on getting a session. It's not an easy feat. And we'll see everybody soon.
Thank you. Have a great one.
See ya. Hey, Sean, do you know what? I think that our listener want real protection against cyber risk. And I know that HITRUST is the leader in cybersecurity assurance. But what makes them the go-to choice?
Well, according to our friends at HITRUST, because their framework covers 100% of the known tactics, techniques, and procedures, in 2024, organizations with a HITRUST certification had just a 0.59% incident rate, meaning 99.41 stayed breach-free.
That's solid. But what about staying sharp over time?
HITRUST regular certification process isn't just a checkbox, it actually drives improvement. Repeat customers see up to 54% fewer corrective actions needed year over year. And now with their new AI security assessment and certification, you can actually tackle AI risk with confidence as well.
Then check out the HITRUST framework. Go to hitrustalliance.net to learn more.